Sampha has been an all-time favourite artist of mine, best known for creating his 2017 album Process, along with making some of the best vocal features with the biggest names in music, with collaborators such as Drake, Kanye, Kendrick Lamar, Frank Ocean, and Travis Scott. Although this is all highly impressive, with just one album and one EP in his discography, he hasn't had enough music under his belt to make him a household name or have him in many people's lists as a favourite artist. There just hasn't been enough solo content to consume. That is until 1 month ago when Sampha released his second album, Lahai. I have been obsessed with Lahai over the last month, and I have the stats to prove it. With over 2,700 plays on the album, Lahai has left me in a full-body trance every time that I go back to it. It's become my second most listened to album ever of my 3 years of having Last.fm, quickly climbing on my favourite album of all time, Blonde by Frank Ocean. Today we'll delve into Sampha's journey as an artist and why I think after the release of Lahai, he deserves the title as one of the GOATs of R&B. And we're going to be doing all that while we get some Fortnite dubs, baby. I landed at Fatal Fields here, one of my favourite OG spots. So Sampha got his start by connecting with a British producer called Quest on MySpace, who introduced him to many names in the industry, such as fellow British electronic producer Subtract. But many people don't know that Sampha originally planned on being an electronic producer just like Subtract, without using his voice. But Subtract gave him the encouragement he needed to use his vocals in the music they were creating together.
But yeah, no, it was great. I mean, initially when we started making music together, it was mostly instrumental, but my vocals started creeping in, and I feel like he had the vision. He could see like the potential, I guess.
Did he have to encourage you to sing?
He didn't have to encourage me per se, but it was like, oh, maybe we should develop this into, or like write some more, like maybe write some more lyrics. And he was like, because I would just naturally just start humming, and I can't help myself. That's why I feature on so many things, because I get into a space and I just like, and I just naturally
do that. Yeah.
So Sampha and Subtract have an amazing relationship. It dates all the way back to 2011, and during these early days made a lot of fantastic music, such as Break Off, Hold On, and Something Goes Right. Sampha and Subtract are still close collaborators to this day, with Sampha appearing 3 times on Subtract's The Rat Road, which is an amazing album that released earlier this year. The highlight of those 3 features for me would be Limitless. Come here, lad. He's got a jetpack? Come here. So Sampha's first individual body of work was in 2010 with an EP called Sanduza. This 6 tracks collection, oh my god. What is going on? Hello? Oh my god. Okay, you're going downstairs. What is that gun? But as we were saying, Sampha's first individual body of work was in 2010 with his EP called Sanduza. This 6-track collection is only available on Bandcamp and shows some of his early production work, with his vocals only featuring on 2 of the tracks. This EP sounds very influenced from his surrounding collaborators such as Quest and Subtract, with the way that he utilizes synths in these songs, but still has some outstanding tracks in Sanduza, such as Curves. Sampha's first formal release on Spotify, Apple Music and such was in 2013 with his EP Jewel. Looking back, Jewel is a lot more stripped back than his later work, allowing a lot more room for his voice and the more minimalist instrumentals to breathe, relying heavily on repetition to sell the emotion of each track and placing a large focus on a catchy chorus. I think this aesthetic Sampha's created on Jewel was largely because he wasn't fully confident yet in the vocal and storytelling aspects of his songs, and instead structuring these songs to be more like the dance music he was familiar with making, while combining these with an R&B sound palette. I think the best example of this combination is on track 5, Indecision. Let it all go. Let it all Jewel was a successful release and began to establish Sampha's own identity as an artist rather than just as a collaborator of Subtract and other producers. But with only 6 songs on Jewel, 2 of which are under a minute, this release really only just served as a proof of concept of what Sampha is capable of in creating once he released a full album. Something we would have to wait another 4 years for. This potential for what Sampha could do as an individual artist was not only seen by fans, but also by fellow musicians, especially in the hip-hop genre, with Sampha then landing collaborations with the biggest names in rap, with features on Drake's song Too Much, and on one of Kanye West's best songs ever, Saint Pablo. That 4-year wait after Jewel was well worth it, with Sampha releasing the critically acclaimed album Process in 2017. Process is an all-time favorite album of mine. It oozes emotion. It's clear that within the 4 years between Jewel and Process that Sampha really took his time to work on his voice and build confidence to express his story in a much more open way than he had before. The story of Process to me is about dealing with loss, loneliness, and the feeling of emptiness, while contrasting that with how those around you expect you to behave and live your life. Sampha takes us through the processes of these emotions throughout the tracklist with varying instrumentals, including the upbeat tracks like Blood on Me. I swear they smell the blood on me. This is contrasted with more mellow songs like the stripped-back piano ballad, No One Knows Me Like the Piano.
No one knows me like the piano in my mother's home.
No One Knows Me Like the Piano is Sampha's most popular song to date, with 88 million streams on Spotify. I think this is really interesting, given what the song is and where Sampha's come from musically. As someone who came into the game with a pure interest of making beats, having your most popular song be purely your voice and a traditional instrument gives a lot of courage to continue to experiment with sounds and ideas that may not seem natural or meet a fan base's expectations. And this is really empowering for an artist to continue to create and experiment. After the success of Process, Sampha took another 6-year break before we would see another formal release. During this time, Sampha's name continued to grow and became more in demand than ever for features on major releases. This included Kendrick Lamar's Father Time, Alicia Keys' 3-Hour Drive, and Travis Scott's My Eyes. During this time, however, Sampha was mainly off the grid, which we would later discover from the lyrics of Lahai was partly because he became a father during this time. I think it's really important for artists to kind of realize that sometimes they need to prioritize their personal life and their family life. You know, that there can be a lot of stresses, especially when things are going well, to continue that motion and that movement forward and to not stop while you're ahead and while things are going well. And I think it would have taken a lot of courage from Sampha and other artists that do the same to give a break there and to have confidence in your fans that they'll be waiting. You know, 6 years is a huge time and a lot changes during that. So having that confidence that there'll still be people waiting and eager to hear your music is really huge and definitely important in times like becoming a father. You know, you don't want to be on tour in Brazil while your baby's 2 months old. But finally, on the 20th of October, 2023, Sampha released his second album, Lahai. Lahai to me is an accumulation of all things Sampha has learned in his music journey, perfectly blending the electronic sounds of his origins into a soulful environment that allows his story to be told. The production of Lahai is like nothing I've heard before, but still feels familiar to the ear. Sampha talks about exactly this and the influences of the sound and topics of the album on an Instagram post, which reads, let me find somewhere safe to read this. We'll get in this crib and I'll read a quick quote. I always remember when I first heard Waratan by Omu Sangare and how fresh it sounded to me, and the deep, I could say, transportive spiritual feeling I got from listening to it. It felt like something I'd heard in another lifetime or something. Thinking about that and the thread I feel through to funk, grime, jungle, and minimal classical music, all these sounds that have influenced this album. I daydreamed this visual idea, and at the root of it is connection to the self and beyond. Trying to find grounding in space and time, discovery and questioning, how and what I carry and how I've been carried, memories, relationships, and dreams. I think that's a really beautiful summary of what we experience in Lahai. Sampha creates this transportive environment to tell his story, and is a much more positive one than in his previous works, discussing family, love, spirituality, memories, and time. Okay, we don't have too far to go. Tilt is going to be a bit scary. We haven't seen too many people this game. It's really only been those two that we've killed. Been a pretty cruisy game, which has been lovely, because reading a script while killing is not the easiest thing I've discovered. But I think the topic of time in this album is a really unique one that isn't often discussed in music. Like how drastically a life can be changed if you were born just a year later, with a different set of friends and a different world to experience. These experiences create memories, which Sampha compares to a form of time travel. You know, like when you recall these memories, it transports you back to a time in your former life. This is best communicated during the closing bridge of Dancing Circles.
Time travels memories. We were two birds flying away from each other, talking about each other. Time travels memories.
This blend of electronic and traditional instrumentals on this album is inspiring. A highlight of this to me is the way which Sampha uses drums. The drums within Lahai are also rarely digital, and is played through the album by musicians Quake Bass, Tio Haum, and Yusef Days. The way that these drummers play the instrument... Oh, hello. We interrupt. Oh, he's gone. Okay, sick. So the way that these drummers play the instrument is rarely in a traditional sense, with the use of hi-hats often making it feel like an electronic drum pattern, but with the charm of a live kit. Through Sampha's production background, he has a great understanding of the importance of when and when not to have drums in a song, making some euphoric moments when they're finally introduced, such as on track 4, Suspended.
The force of forswear, on courseware, of courseware, suspend.
I've really been loving listening to Lahai. It's been such a special listen because that quote I read, he's really been able to encapsulate that within the music. It feels so different but familiar, you know, like you've heard it in another lifetime, which is such a weird thing to say and such an amazing feat that he's created to even be able to talk about that in a way about music. Oh shit! R&B music has been around for almost 100 years. And it's artists like Sampha that continue to innovate on the description of what R&B can be. By coming from different musical backgrounds, such as electronic music, and creating blends of the two, it's how modern music continues to develop and evolve. And to me, Sampha has struck this blend perfectly, making him one of the GOATs of R&B. This is my first ever video, and I've had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. What I'm doing on this channel is pretty unique, and I have a lot of ideas of how I want to combine music discussion with gaming. And hopefully do a bit better gaming. I'd maybe get a win next time, or we'll switch up games. So if that's something you'd like to see, then I'd really appreciate if you subscribed. I'm seeing Sampha live for the first time in February. Oh, hello. How does this work? I'm seeing Sampha live for the first time in February, which I'm incredibly excited for, and we'll be sure to make a video on that experience when it happens. And I'll have a new video out on a different topic next week. So until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.